Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. We have some more reveals today from Warlock now. First up we have Symphony of Sins. 6-mana, discover and play a movement. Shuffle the other 6 into your deck. Now the movements are here. Remove the top 6 cards from your opponent's deck. Draw the highest cost minion. Reduce its cost by 6. Deal 6 damage to all characters. Lifesteal deals 6 to the enemy hero. Give a random minion in your hand, deck, and battlefield +6/+6. Draw 6 cards. Summon a 6/6 demon with Taunt and Reborn. And this is the token for the movement of Sloth. It's a really cool effect on this card. Lots of different things that get shuffled powerful into your deck. First time you play it, it's going to discover from this pool. You're not guaranteed to get the one you want. You're just going to get 3 options out of the 7. On first play of this, you can imagine like the AoE one being pretty good a lot of the time if you're behind on board, or the taunt one if you're not behind on board, or if you don't hit those, what you could do is take maybe the movement of desire to just heal yourself for a bit so you're not actually dead even if you didn't find like, the board clear if you need it. And then the other ones are just good in different situations, like movement of pride, drawing your highest cost minion, reduce its cost by 6. This goes really nicely into a Chadius style Warlock, where you're playing Thaddeus as your highest cost minion, and if you draw it with this, well, having a 4-cost Thaddeus for your next turn is going to be pretty powerful. Movement of Envy, pretty decent against other control decks potentially. They all have their uses. This one is a really powerful buff. Any minion you have on board, but it's probably not something you're going to want to be picking most of the time. Now, of course, you've got to draw 6 cards. Now, how do we abuse these a little bit? Maybe the best deck is like a Chadius Warlock. But you could also run Sir Finley in your deck, which is already pretty decent in Chadius Warlock because you want to find the slime pretty badly. So this just helps you do it. But this also has the utility that once you've played your Symphony of Sins and you've shuffled everything into your deck, if you spin your hand away on the next turn, you're pretty likely to pick up a bunch of these movements at the bottom of your deck and can immediately play them, maybe even 2 of them on the same turn, because this on 6, then Finley double movement on 7 is pretty powerful. It's kind of cool. Now, if you are a slower deck, dealing 6 to yourself is probably not what you want to be doing with your AoE, but it will clear most boards. Yeah, I think it's a decent card. It's pretty fun, pretty flavorful card as well. I'm a big fan. And with the core set changes, you get Defile coming to the core set, buffed up Spirit Bomb coming into the core set. You have Void Coolers coming into the core set. Sorry, I think it's called Void Cooler. The 4-drop that summons out a demon from your hand was also coming into the core set. So lots of tools for Control Warlock to use going forward. And I think this will be a nice complement to those. We also have been given some more Warlock cards, and they have a Relic-ish style Fatigue Warlock archetype, where stuff is improved based upon playing multiple ones of them. Now, they keep going to this style of packages for decks. I'd hope not to be like too negative, but I kind of hope they move away from doing this all the time. It's a bit boring, I think, and it kind of puts the game in a position where if the package is good, you just play all the cards. If it's bad, these cards don't see any play, and there's not much like deck building nuance to it. You just put them in and they're good, or you take them out and they're bad. But anyway, let's look whether these are good or bad. Felstring Heart, 2 mana. Whenever your hero would take damage on your turn, restore 2 health instead, lose 1 durability. This one maybe is a bit more general purpose and doesn't have to be used necessarily with these cards as well. They're, like I mentioned a little bit ago, Spirit Bomb is buffed to 1 mana. 1 mana deal 4. Pretty nice with the Felstring Harp equipped. It's going to heal you up for effectively 6, since you don't take the 4 damage from the Spirit Bomb. Of course, you've got Tour Guide coming back in, so you're going to be able to life tap a lot easier, so you can also kind of plus 4 health for 1 proc as well. So this actually represents quite a lot of healing / damage negation. The only awkward part of it is that often you want to actually be tapping on turn 2. So maybe you have the choice between playing this and playing life tap, and not really sure between the two of them. Like there's a big upfront cost early in the game because it's like a damage negation effect. You have to play it before, whereas heal cards normally you want to be doing your tempo plays first and then using the heal cards to heal you up later, because once you've got more mana it's a bit easier to stabilize that way. Preemptively doing it has some like tempo implications for sure, but this one does represent a lot of healing, and Warlock is going to need more healing, I think, since they are losing their hero card Tamsin, so it's 5 armor and an AoE they're losing, and the card draw. So if they want to life tap as well beyond that point to find more of their deck, it's going to cost them their health too. They're losing Touch of Nathrezim, which is a big one. Used a lot of healing from this thing. And they're not gaining too much. The only thing they're gaining really is Armor Vendor, but control style decks often ran Mistress of Mixtures anyway. I guess this one couldn't be played in Chad Warlock because it's undead. So Armor Vendor definitely a very much superior version of this in almost every single way. But having said all that, I still think Felstring Harp could see some play in Control Warlock just because it does represent a lot of healing. As for this other set, we've got Crazed Conductor. 5 mana 4/5 backcry, take fatigue damage. Summon that many 3/3 imps. So the first of these cards you play, you're going to take fatigue damage for 1. It's as if you've drawn from when your decks run out. So you take 1 and it'll summon 1 imp. And the next one you'll take 2 and it'll do whatever effect twice. And then so on and so forth. Baritone imps take fatigue damage, gain that much health and attack. Crescendo is deal that much damage to all enemies. It's a Fel spell. They finally released one after all the Fel synergies rotating out. Yeah, these are like relics, but there's no relic vault to really ramp them up quickly. They're a little more clunky, I'd say, than the relics to play. The imp itself is probably fine to play on a lot of turns, but you can compare it to the 1 mana spell that removes. Compare it to the 3 mana spell, which is pretty easy to play early in the game. The AoE from Crescendo is a little bit more situational. Like it's turn 3, it might not be even a very good play, might not kill anything on your opponent's side, and you'd rather just do something else. And the Crazed Conductor, it's a bit similar to a card that was very much overrated this year by a lot of people in Shaman, which is Coral Keeper. Summon a 3/3 elemental for each spell skill displayed this game. This looked very, very good. And the Conductor maybe is a little similar. The stats are a bit better on it. And all you're really having to do is like play these cards on curve to boost it up, to make it a bit better, which maybe is a little easier than playing spell schools and Shaman. But plays themselves, I don't think they're that strong tempo-wise. Plus, you're taking the face damage, which is very relevant. Like you're against some aggro deck, you're taking all this face damage from the fatigue. It's gonna hurt you quite a bit. Baritone Imp's like key to it, really. You play this early, then the other ones suddenly start looking a bit better. I feel like this Conductor one is just not very good overall. It comes down late in the game. If you're playing this in like an Imp style Warlock deck, you already have other board floods. If you're playing it in a more control-y style deck, that's not really the kind of card that a control deck really wants to be playing, I think. These two, sure, cheap and an AoE control deck likes, but this one is just like some stats, but it's not really boosting what the control deck's trying to do, I don't think. Plus you're taking all that face damage like I mentioned before. So if you're trying to play this in Imp Lock, consider that Imp Lock now does not run Bloodbound Imp. The 2-mana 2/5, whenever this act deal 2 damage to your hero. Doesn't run that card. Baritone Imp is when you first play as a 3/3. I think a 3/3 stat line is arguably better than a 2/5 stat line early in the game because you can trade into 1/3s. Plus you don't take as much face damage from repeated attacks compared to the 2/5. So I do think the card is a bit better than the Bloodbound Imp, but it's just kind of to illustrate like it's not a slam dunk in Imp Lock by any means. And Imp Lock also, people make the argument maybe Imp Lock is losing some stuff. They're losing the big one being Wicked Shipment. So you might say, oh, they're losing Wicked Shipment, so they need cards to replace it. But if you say they leave losing this card, and it's one of the best possible cards, and they're not getting an adequate replacement, that's not an argument to be playing the new cards. It's an argument not to be playing Imp Lock because it's not going to be strong enough. And I just don't see this package complementing Imp Lock that well. Imp Lock has already a 3-mana play that they almost want to be always doing, which is Fiendish Circle. So you're going to have games where you've got Crescendo and you've got ways to make imps, and you're just pretty much always going to be picking the way to make imps. And the Crescendo is probably going to be a little stuck in hand. Same thing for the Crazed Conductor. Just accelerating this package is maybe just a bit too much for not enough reward, I would say. That's my take on it. They also have other powerful cards like Mischievous Imp that they want to be playing, Location they want to be playing, and I just have a hard time seeing these fit into the curve and you'd be particularly happy about it. So yeah, I don't know. Some people, I've been talking to some people and they have the opposite opinion on me. They think these cards are pretty good. I don't think they are. I think also, again, if you've played 3 of these, you've taken 6 extra face damage. And then your next one, you're taking another 4. If you're against an aggro deck, some of your cards are just not going to be playable. We've all had games where you have Flame Imp in your hand and you really just don't want to play it because it's just too much face damage for you to take. And some of these cards I think also going to have that downside. But anyway, that's it for the video. Short one here today, just talking about the cards. There's going to be a big reveal tomorrow, going through everything else. So we'll have a new video out then talking about those cards. See you later.